right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Friday, July 15th, 2016. And this is Before the First Cup with Jules here on UCY.TV. Happy Friday, everyone. It is 77 degrees and sunny here in upstate New York. I think it's going to be a baker today. So where did we leave off yesterday? We titled the show Behavior Monitoring, AI, Mind Police, and a Brain-Sucking Machine. I know we've been on the brain all week, but it's just been so disturbing to me I couldn't get off the topic. We looked at a lot of horrifying things, like being able to read that little tiny voice inside your head, encode it to text-to-speech, and then take that text-to-speech and make it an MP3 that speaks to you, or to investigators or the surveillance people who are sucking that little voice out of your head. Pretty scary thought. We found they can add and remove memories. We've talked about that for years now, but now they're actually accomplishing it with some great success on little mousies, and I'm sure that if we don't know about it yet, it will be soon. We'll be doing some clinical trials for some sort of PTSD patients. But we ended the show with two things. One was a clip from, I think it was an RT clip about the White House extolling the benefits of replacing humans with robots, and that is our new chief IT guy for the federal government. If I'm not mistaken, he may have come from Google. Maybe that was Hillary Clinton's IT guy, came from Google, but there are a lot of big Sharpie lines between Google and the feds. But our new IT guy really thinks it would be a great thing for us to have robots and artificial intelligence everywhere. And, as a matter of fact, I think we should start the show where we left it off. And then, of course, we talked about the lawyer Ross. And since half of our federal government and Senate and the House and the president and running presidents all were former lawyers, it's quite interesting that one of the first full-blown rollouts of artificial intelligence that we're seeing out there commercially happens to be a lawyer. And a lawyer that deals with bankruptcy, no less. What a great test to replace all the lawyers. It's, what did they say his name was? Ross. But Ross is front-ending to IBM's Watson. All right, here, I got us connected. Let's see if we can do this. It's a Friday. I got some sleep, and I got all my work done, so I'm actually pretty happy today. All right. Well, I'm going to have to do this by hand. If I click on it, it's going to launch in another browser. Okay. So this is the White House, our new initiative. Roll out the robots. Oh, and she's muted. Hold on. Roll them out. Roll them out. Here they come. It's Atlas.
There have been lots of news reports about how robots will replace humans in every job in the future. And now it looks like the White House is gearing up to replace humans with robots, too. The White House's Deputy Chief Technology Officer, Ed Felton, recently wrote a post on the White House blog explaining how excited they are about working with government agencies to integrate artificial intelligence, or AI, into their operations. The blog post is called Preparing for the Future. In it, Felton writes in a positive tone about how the White House is working to leverage AI for public good. He says AI could lead to a more effective government. He positively gushes about how great AI could be in the capacity of government. Felton writes that AI could actually help make everyday life better for Americans, even though it threatens to take over their jobs and thus their very livelihoods. He says AI can help build smarter cities. He says it can lead to better options for mental and physical health.
Ding! Wait a minute. AI can build smarter cities. We talked about that. That's at Buck Rogers in the 21st century. White wall, take your drugs, Johnny. And don't argue, smart city. All in the name of climate change. And then, of course, it could help you with your better mental health. We looked at some of those applications, that newest one by AI Cures, where they can even send alerts if you show suspicious behaviors such as cheeking your medication. I mean, that's frightening. All right, let's listen to the rest of this.
Social welfare, criminal justice, research and development, and environmental issues.
Criminal justice as well. We are going to see that. K5, the patrolling parking lot robot, is on the prowl again. We'll look at him, and we'll look at some of what the military is doing as well.
He ends that particular section with the open-ended, and much more.
Like blowing up insurgents with remote control robots and bombs without a trial. I mean, guys, this is coming. It's in your face now. The reason why during the Dallas shootout they used that robot was because it has to get in the public eye. And I noticed that right after they did that, they had that police chief on talking about how his guys came up with a plan and this is going to save lives and it's just so great and everybody embraced the robots. This is it, people. We've been watching Obama and I don't even remember, there was some new report just recently that it talked about how many innocent people have been tallied overseas to have been killed by our remote control drone bombs. We're already up to, and I don't want to quote a number, but I thought it was something like 5 Americans killed overseas without trial from drone bombing. And we predicted it would come to this country. It is here, and it's going to be even greater, this push for mad science, robotics, genetically modified everything. I saw that DARK Act, what they're calling the new labeling, genetically modified food labeling law, which is going to hide things even more, and it's going to circumvent and cut out the knees of all the state laws that were much stricter. It's now at Obama's desk to ink, so that is very possible that could happen today. Anybody out there who wants to make a last stand, and I mean, the sad fact of the matter is I don't know if this would even make a big difference, but if my 10 bazillion listeners, because I know I have 10 bazillion listeners out there, want to call the White House and tell Obama to veto this bill, the White House phone number is called 456-1414. The DARK Act yesterday sailed through Congress. The House of Representatives then voted yesterday 306 to 117, and they passed the GMO non-labeling bill, and it is now on Obama's desk. I would say anybody has a few minutes and wants to give a couple zings, 202-456-1414. So I don't know for what that's worth, but anyway, so we have GMO everything. I see Oxitec is just peddling the shit out of those GMO 80s Egypte mosquitoes. They're like, oh, look at our case study. We've already released them in Brazil, Panama, and the Grand Cayman. And we have been going to each of your cities in the United States after the U.S. requested $1 billion for their Zika super fund to create a strike force. And we are peddling our genetically modified mosquitoes as an environmental solution to spraying pesticides. I mean, guys, we are in this alter world of complete lunacy. And so now our federal government thinks it's going to be a good idea to roll out robots to control everything, and it'll be so much better for you and me. It will be good for human welfare.
Meaning the White House will use AI however it damn well pleases. In the blog post, Felton also mentions some other government applications of AI that don't sound as benevolent as social welfare. He writes that AI presents tremendous opportunities across the federal government in privacy, security, regulation, and law.
Ding.
That's where things get really scary. Because now it's not just about robots replacing our jobs. Now it's about robots being our overlords.
Ding, ding.
Decisions on law enforcement. It's about robots being in charge of regulating and securing us. Of course, the White House sees this as a tremendous way to save money, too, since the federal government employs somewhere around 2 million people.
Yeah, and I was thinking too, not only is this a great way to save money, but they just got Gil Pratt from DARPA to take over that new $1 billion Toyota artificial intelligence factory that they built in California. They had another division branch of that same AI division at MIT, and they opened a third right up in Michigan, near the University of Michigan, and all the car companies to start rolling out some intelligence in these self-driving cars. Now, here's something else I want to bring out, tying now this whole rollout of robotics to terror attacks, and we've looked at this for a couple days now. Of course, the mental health issue as well with shootings. So everybody's crazy. We're going to have mass mental health screenings coming to a cell phone near you. But this attack in Nice, France yesterday, we had this truck go careening out of control into a crowd of people. Last I saw, I know it started at 30 people dead. Then it was like 73 by the time I woke up from my nap. Then by the time I went to bed, it was like 80. If you notice, each of these quote-unquote mass attacks gets larger and larger, and I think that that's going to be the trend. But this one was interesting because the seconds I heard that it was a truck careening out of control into a crowd of people on a sidewalk. Where have we heard that scenario before? Ding! The self-driving car ethics question. Yes! Self-driving cars will prevent suicide lunatics from driving into a crowd of people. Now, we discovered that. It's going to decide, ethically speaking, of course, if you have an impending accident in front of you, which would be more acceptable? To kill the one or two people inside the car by, running into that tractor trailer, which, by the way, is what happened in that Tesla, the first Tesla accident. The guy went right under a tractor trailer that was white, and when it turned at a 90-degree angle in front of the road, the cameras didn't really see it because it kind of blended into the environment, and the dude was watching a movie or something instead of monitoring the road. And they killed the driver, though that, like I said, that was a complete accident. They didn't see the tractor trailer. But the question for the ethical self-driving cars, is it more ethical to kill the one or two people in the car than it is to careen into the crowd and potentially kill hundreds? Well, I guess that question was answered in France yesterday. You just wait. They have now set the stage, just like they did in Dallas, for these savior robots that carry in bombs and kill insurgents without anyone else getting hurt. We will have self-driving tractor trailers, and I believe they were already testing them in that general vicinity. I thought it was a cross-country European trip for the self-driving tractor trailer by one of the big manufacturers, Siemens, or one of those guys over there, or Volkswagen maybe. And it's not going to be too long. So just remember I mentioned that. Because the second I heard a truck careening into a crowd, I was like, oh no, we are marching forward with the plan. All right, anyway. So we're going to listen to the rest of this video.
So the White House not only sees lots of opportunity in replacing us with robots, it also thinks they'll be a great way to control us, too. Just another scary news story about robots. Let's face it, my fellow humans, the future no longer belongs to us. Tonight, let's talk about that.
And I mean, she is so right. The future no longer belongs to us at all. And it is about control, because that self-driving car is now going to be able to bag, tag, track, and limit where you go. It's going to be able to control how you drive. Road rage cameras, we talked about those again yesterday. They can detect your emotions and react in a self-driving vehicle. Take the steering wheel away from you, Johnny. pull back the throttle. You're going a little too fast. Next, it's going to be electrical shocks in the seat as the handcuffs come on. It's a very frightening thought. It reminds me, if you guys remember, I think it was last year, my kid was at school. She comes home to tell me that they were doing some, I don't know if it was standardized testing or just some sort of little application for the kids, to learn. And at the very end of that application, I was horrified to find out that Google's peddling to the schools. She's like, Mom, and they asked us a question. Of course, I've talked about self-driving cars. They asked us a question at the end of our test, and it said, would you drive in a self-driving car? Why or why not? A Google self-driving car. And she says, Mom, I put on there that no, I wouldn't drive in a self-driving car because they could take you to the police station. Ding, ding, ding. That's exactly it, Susie. Chip off the old block. I was proud of that one. But, you see it coming now. That was already a few years ago. You see it coming. This, not only will they be able to read your thoughts and determine by your face shape that's based upon your genetics whether or not you could potentially be a troublemaker based upon your genes. I mean, at birth, they're already getting DNA samples. With the technology and the cost being so low right now, of able to do anything they want to you. All right. Let me disconnect Skype here now for now. Yeah, maybe I can mute it. Hey, look at that. All right, so we finished up the show looking at Ross, the brand new artificially intelligent lawyer that has been officially hired by his first law firm, and there are others lining up. Ross, an artificially intelligent lawyer, has been hired by his first law firm named Baker and Holstedler. They've announced that they are employing IBM's AI Ross to handle their bankruptcy practice, which at the moment consists of nearly 50 lawyers. And like I said yesterday, 50 lawyers that are going to be on universal basic income in the future. With all the rest of us, that's the one thing that gives me pleasure. Is that all these sellouts who are just going along their day, making their bazillions of dollars and spitting on me as they drive by in their Audi, at some point are going to find out that those lunatic tinfoil hat wearing crazy people out there who've been talking about this for a long time weren't the crazy ones. We were the ones that at least had a clue, could prepare mentally. These guys are going to find themselves. I already know people who went to law school a couple $100,000 in debt, and guess what? The one job you found isn't making anything near what it's going to cost, not only to pay off your student loans, but a car and a house or an apartment, a townhouse, something. It's not a pretty picture anymore. That American dream that you were deluded into believing in has actually been set on fire. They started the curtains at the back of the theater on fire, and now the alarm bells are ringing. Brrr. The fixtures are already gone off the walls behind the curtains, you just noticed. And it's like, oh shit, they locked the doors. Yeah, remember that? Where did that happen? That was some horrifying concert. Some heavy metal band played there. One of my friends, I remember when that happened. I got the whole history behind it, but I think that's about where we're at. They locked the emergency doors, and the curtains are on fire. According, and of course now we see today is this supposed day of rage. I mean, who isn't pissed off? But what I'm more concerned about is this next week we have the RNC in Ohio. I think the week after, the end of the week, we have the DNC in Philly. And any of us here on the East Coast, at least in the upper Northeast, should feel a little trapped by that. I was looking at a map yesterday, and I'm like, we got troops and police from all over the country. heading to the Northeast to be a part of protecting the presidential candidates and being a part of all the riots that are about ready to break out. Don't worry about it, Johnny. Just keep shopping. But if you take a look where Cleveland and Philly are, that pretty much surrounds everything from PA up on north by law enforcement and robots and military gear and whatever else is down there. I'm not liking that feeling too much. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. This RNC thing, they've been ramping this up for a while. And even before they started stirring the racial pot to where our pot boileth over, at least not on our side. I mean, I don't know. Everybody's been pretty cool over here. But calm down, people in the streets. Get a radio show. Make some music. Don't ever resort to violence unless it's your life. You know, that I think is a cardinal rule for me. In my life or my child's life, well, you know, whatever you get coming to you, that's you asked for it. But otherwise, you know, keep it in your pocket. Keep it in your pocket and use your brain. That's why we were given a brain. Let's back up the truck and take a good look down. You know, I remember the first day that happened to me, when I first started waking up to all this stuff, it was dizzying and it was angering. And I went through those 5 or 9 steps of grief, right, when somebody dies, because it was like everything I ever believed was dead. It was the last nail in the coffin, and I realized, yep, that fantasy that I was groomed to see and believe that we called America was just a big fat lie. I felt really bad about it, and I got really upset about it, and I got on the radio, and I just started ranting and raving. Then I started making fun of it because it was just so ridiculous, and now I do dystopian fiction. Dystopian nonfiction. It used to be dystopian fiction. Now it is nonfiction. As we're watching it all unfold. And I've gotten out that other side, but I remember the day that I just, instead of looking at individualized events like this event, that event, because remember, it's all the dangling carrot to distract you and keep you mentally busy. One day, I just came out here to the office and I had some quiet time. And it was almost like, instead of standing in the crowd on the ground, I was up in an airplane. And I was looking down at the whole situation. And all those dots started to go bloop as they connected. And I'm like, oh, I get it. And all of a sudden, it wasn't about getting mad and wasting your energy, because that's what they want, about every little nook and cranny and dumb thing that they set a fire under. Because if you do that, you're going to end up with adrenal fatigue. You're going to end up with all those stress hormones flowing through your veins 24/7, where you can't think clearly. And they got you running around like a chicken with your head cut off. It's called disorganized. It's called putting out fires. I talked about being a creature of habit yesterday and how important it is to have a schedule. And that's the one thing that I found as a single engineer for 13 freaking locations and probably 60 salespeople pulling at me every day. You know, I had 30 projects going on. And if every single time the phone rang, I dropped what I was doing and I answered that phone for somebody else who's got a problem, or somebody else who wants me to talk to somebody, or somebody else who needs a quick price, or someone else who wants me to fix something, I would never get shit done. So, you know what? I got to compartmentalize, and I stick to my schedule. Well, you need to focus. You need to see the big picture, and that's the problem that we have right now, is that mass media, the propaganda that has been legalized through the NDAA of 2013 to sell to the American public, is designed to destabilize. That's all it is. And it's working. You know, this whole Black Lives Matter thing, and there I was seeing people talking about them sending tens of thousands of protesters to the RNC in a state that happens to be open carry, and they're going to be armed. Now, what could possibly go wrong there? Well, don't worry about it. We now have this new automatic robot that can carry weapons and take out insurgents. We now have all this great military technology and law enforcement technology with drones that can be armed. I did both stories on that. One was out of North Dakota, I believe. It's around anti-media. Search armed drones, anti-media. You'll find them. They can put rocket launchers, grenade launchers, tasers, pepper spray, shotguns, and drones if they want it, or just HD cameras with facial recognition. We talked about that 2 days ago. Run you through maybe not even the FBI database, facial recognition database. Maybe they just run you through Facebook, which we found out is even better than the FBI's because it's 95 versus 85% effective. They'll be able to identify you and find all your friends. Guys, this has gotten to a point where they've set us up. Problem, reaction, solution. We got all these lunatics now, and I mean, I'm not saying it's a good situation. You got choice A or choice B. I saw Jill Stein, who's part of the Green Party now, is getting a lot of people. They've been talking about that. But, I mean, like I said, in the very, very, very beginning of the days of Rand Paul, when I was asked my opinion on air, and I said, well, you know, all you people are like treating him like he's the next Messiah, and I don't know what one little old guy's going to do to fix the situation. And they all told me that I was just, I don't even remember what horrible name they called me. They did call me something nasty. I was a defeatist. That's what it was. You're a defeatist, Joel. You know, Ron Paul's going to change everything. He's going to fix all this problem. Nobody's going to fix all this problem, guys. We've spun to the point where it is the big, intricate domino run. Going down those little ladders and up and around the table and around the upstairs. And they are just getting ready to flick. You know, they've been flicking little ones that have like the little corner test runs. But they're getting ready to flick that head domino and just watch it all fall down. Because you know what they got waiting in the wings? They got all this military gear. They got all this surveillance gear. They got universal basic income they've been talking about. They got universal ID programs. They got all these financial institutions that are corrupt beyond anything we have ever seen before. We got politicians bought and sold that are just skating away with any crime they see fit. We got the head of the law of the land testifying to the criminal's innocence. And not just this attorney general, but the former criminal attorney general Eric Holder as well. We have set precedent that this is the burning cauldron pit of the 7 deadly sins. I hate to say it, but it's coming as a literature student. Used to focus a lot of attention on ancient literature and religious texts and that type of thing. I'm telling you guys, we've fallen into the pit so far. Every last shred of decency that we had held some pride in is about ready to go up in flames. Like I said, the curtains are burning in the theater. They're about ready to throw a couple Molotov cocktails right into the middle of the room with these now conventions. Anyway, all right, that was a tangent. Let's get back to Ross, the artificially intelligent lawyer from IBM, back-ended by Watson. And don't forget, too, we talked about the Universal ID program. 1.3 billion people, I believe, are audited in India. I posted a link to that, and we mentioned it the other day, but I've talked about it a lot of times. Brandon Turville wrote that story back in 2012, I believe, about the Universal ID program that not only will be all types of identification, and especially in a world that's plagued by terrorists now and crazy people, it'll be a good thing, but also when there are no more jobs and they have to give you your universal basic income, it'll be a good way. And I think that's actually how they're doing it, is to go get their benefits. Tie into that your precision health care and the bagging, tagging, and tracking as to who's gotten their vaccines. In Australia, I saw that if you're getting government funding now and you do not get your child vaccinated with mandatory vaccines, they are going to prevent you from getting that money. Pretty frightening thought, but they are going to be able, one way or the other, to lock us into this grid. So IBM now, not only are they working on universal IDs, but they're working on artificially intelligent lawyers that now have a job. According to the CEO and co-founder Andrew Aruda of Baker and Hostetler law firm, other firms have also signed licenses with Ross, IBM's AI lawyer, and they will be making their announcements shortly. Ross, the world's first artificially intelligent attorney, is built on IBM's cognitive computer, Watson, who is also, we did a story on this, partnering with Under Armour to make smart underwear. Remember that? And be able to send data back to your doctor real time, or to your coach. Under Armour is for athletes, but it's not going to be too long before it's in Kmart undies. Was designed to read and understand language, postulate hypotheses when asked questions, research, and then he will generate responses along with references and citations to back up his conclusions. And, you know, I'm going to tell you something that is really bizarro about this, and I don't think I have the story open anymore. But you know what? I just searched this Obama and study published Obama yesterday. I believe was the very first, and here it is. He became the very first sitting president yesterday. In the middle of all this turmoil, in the middle of the theater burning down, he became the very first sitting president to have an article published in one of the most prominent medical journals. The article, published in JAMA, and we've actually read a lot of studies out of JAMA, starts by providing evidence that Obamacare, also known as the Affordable Care Act, has improved the quality of care Americans get and made health care more affordable and more accessible. Yes, those were some of his robotic words. He repeated over and over and over again. You can keep your health care. We know how that turned out. But it also lays out what Obama believes to be the next steps in improving our country's healthcare system, and specifically, that would be introducing a public plan option and lowering the country's skyrocketing drug prices. Right, those drug prices skyrocketed after he passed the pharmaceutical bill that pretty much gave them carte blanche. Says, in total, this published study that the president, being the first sitting president ever published, this piece cites 68 different studies and government reports as annotations. Now, it's interesting. Again, connect that little dot. Citations and references. Well, how interesting is that? That IBM's Ross, the world's first artificially intelligent attorney, Obama being not a doctor, no, Obama being an attorney. And Watson can read and understand language, postulate hypotheses when asked questions, do its research, and then generate responses along with references and citations to back up its conclusions. And just yesterday, and I mean, what are the chances? And I think this story's a little bit older. Yeah, May 11th, 2016 is when the story about Ross, the lawyer, came out, and Obama released this July 13th, so 2 months in between. Just seems interesting to me. Like how Obama had the time to write this huge 68 references, studies, government reports, citations. It says Howard Boucher, the Journal's editor-in-chief, told Bloomberg magazine that the article that Obama wrote went through 2 revisions and additional edits over 2 months. So wait, May, June, July. That's just about 2 months since IBM's Ross was released. And although Obamacare has helped in many ways, the paper argues there's still plenty for the next president to pick up where Obama left off. What made me think of that is that wasn't Obama also the first president to ink like some big agreement with RoboPen while he was off flitting around over in Africa or something? They couldn't send him the agreement. No, they used RoboPen to ink his signature on, I think it was the extension of the NDAA or something like that, which was completely never before done in American history. I don't know, guys. I am getting such a bad feeling about so many things recently. I know this sounds crazy, but I don't think I'm crazy. I'm pulling on sweater tags all over the place, and this sweater's unraveling, and I don't even know where to go. I can't stitch it back together, and I never learned to knit. Anyway, so you ask your questions in plain English, as would a colleague, and then Ross reads through the entire body of law. Or in Watson's case, he goes through all the medical research. Remember, Watson is also back-ending the Sloan Kettering Cancer Institute in Cleveland, Ohio. Oh, Cleveland. How convenient. But in this case, Ross reads through the entire body of law and returns a cited answer and topical readings from legislation, case law, and secondary sources so you can get up to speed quickly. And in addition, Ross also monitors the law around the clock on the internet to notify you of new court decisions that could affect your case. Well, I wonder how much Ross charges per hour. Ross also minimizes the time it takes to narrow down results from only 1,000 to only the most highly relevant answers, and presents the answers in a more casual, understandable language. So this is going to be your filter. This is going to filter all that pesky lying that's happening on the internet, all that noise in Google, all those alternative websites of things that came up maybe in the medicine world. Let's get off the law world. Let's talk about the medicine world. All those alternative therapies. You know, think about when they apply something like this, AI, which they already are, to something like the Google search engine, and we did a whole show on that. The AI guy actually took over the Google search engine back a few months ago. They'll be able to filter your results to the point where they're graded based upon somebody else's algorithm, whether it be if your facts on your website show up in the database of truth that they're comparing against, whether or not this person was cured versus died in some horrible Mad science gone mad experiment of gene editing therapy. Whoops. We just had one of those recently, by the way. And not the one at the University of Pennsylvania. Same kind of technologies, but they were treating another cancer, and it caused some mass brain inflammation that killed 3 of the people in the clinical trial. So it's been stopped now. Not sure if we're going to get to that today, but maybe Monday. Anyway, at the end of the story, Barker Hostetler has been using Ross since the first days of its deployment, and we are proud to partner with a true leader in the industry as we continue to develop additional AI legal assistance, he added. So there you go. Blessed are the lawyers. They'll be joining the unemployment line soon enough. So, all right, so now let's talk about robots. Robots being used as the future of policing. You know, we now had in Dallas this bright idea to arm this robot and send it in after insurgents, kind of the way they do in Afghanistan. And like I said, we already have drones that can be armed. We read about that in North Dakota. Though they haven't used any lethal weapons on the soil yet until the Dallas thing. Baby steps, kids, baby steps. Well, now we have that K5 robot, the one that looks like the Dalek from Doctor Who. Kind of a combination of a Dalek and an R2D2 unit, an R2 unit. Mall security robot knocks down a toddler and breaks Asimov's first law of robotics. We shall not harm humans, which we've read a lot about robotic ethics, and they're not programming that law into our robots in this timeline, in this dystopia. There is no first law of robotics like there was in iRobot. Robots might be cheaper to employ than humans, but it seems they still need to work on their people skills. Last week, a robot security guard at the Stafford Shopping Center in Silicon Valley knocked down a toddler while on duty and then apparently just kept on driving. Oh, boy. A report from the local news channel ABC7 says that the bot hit the 16-month-old Harwin Chang and knocked him to the floor. Chang was not seriously hurt by the incident, but we're still going to chalk this up to a violation of Isaac Asimov's first law of robotics. Quote, a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. The robot in question was the Nightscope K5, a 5-foot, 300-pound machine that began trials in the mall last year. The robot trundles about on wheels and uses an array of sensors and cameras to monitor its environment. And I remember it also had license plate readers on it. Human security guards can direct it to certain locations to see what's going on, with its cameras. And the bot is supposed to report any unusual activity to the Central Guard station. The robot's creators described it as possessing a commandeering physical presence with advanced technology. And you know what? Don't worry about it, because the selling point is run away, grab your kids. The K5 costs just $6.25 an hour to employ, which is less than minimum wage. So little Johnny Chang, you're going to get run over because it's cheaper for us to employ K5s that don't know how to look out for toddlers. Nightscope has issued a statement on the incident describing it as a freakish accident, stressing that the K5 has driven more than 25,000 miles without similar occurrences. Well, it's just like the self-driving car. We have 2 accidents in a very short period of time that actually killed people. I don't remember. I think the second one killed someone. Maybe they got injured, but I know the first one ran him right under a tractor trailer, and I think it took its head off. Took the roof of the car off, that's for sure. The company also said that it reached out to Chang multiple times with no response. And it invited the family to Nightscope's headquarters so team members can respectfully apologize in person and learn from this incident. Oh, so K5 must be feeling bad about things. Oh, wait. K5 wasn't feeling bad about things. You want to know why? Because K5 doesn't feel any emotions. But don't worry about that because it's coming. July 11th, 2016. Emotional robots. AI could think like a person and bond with humans within years. Researchers in Russia are expected to reveal an emotional computer within the next year and a half, which will be able to think like a person and build up trust, say its creators. This system, called the Virtual Actor, is being created by the National Research Nuclear University in Moscow. And you know what's interesting about this is that we already saw that they had AI software that could take your 230-point facial recognition, take images from the internet. Do you guys remember that story where they could take your face print from just internet images of like George Bush or Clooney or anybody who's famous who's out there a lot and get enough angles to be able to build a composite of your face, then take somebody talking on camera with those 230 points all marked on their face and take someone else's face and place it over the top of you. That sounds like a virtual actor. They also have AI bots that they're teaching to read your emotions. They're going to start teaching them to interact, and this is just not in Russia. I don't know, anything that says happening in a lab in Russia, wink, kind of scares me, but this is out of the Daily Mail, so take it for what it is. Its name was given to it because one of its main functions will be to serve as an actor, playing the role of a specific person. So, you know, we won't even have to have presidents or Congress anymore. We can just have our avatar uploading, downloading in at Christmas time, like we've talked about before. Researchers say that this quote-unquote actor will understand the context of what is going on as well as keep up with unfolding events. Well, that sounds a lot like Ross. Ross now embodied. And this machine will have the ability to study, not through programming or reinforcement learning, but as a thinking person, said the researchers. The machine itself must be able to set learning goals, formulate questions to achieve these goals, and actively seek the answers. Wow, this is really scary sounding. Researchers are starting to look at how the human brain works, and we have established that ad nauseum, where they are even building electrodes to interface biology with technology out of DNA and then 3D printing them in all kinds of pretty shapes and sizes as part of the Synapse project, the Connectome. Our principal goal is to formulate the basic principles that natural intelligence are built upon in the human brain. And biological solutions are in many respects superior to artificial solutions in terms of their adaptability, learning ability, and unexpected interventions. And we would like to model these principles on the computer. They're going to start messing with the hippocampus where our memory is. And the question is, do we have to reproduce millions of neurons with tens of thousands of connections between them? And, you know, they're already working on that here. That's why I think, you know, all of these battles that are going on in the forefront, you know, us versus them, Chinese and the Russians versus us, you know, there's mad science gone mad. We've read a lot about what's going on in China with the clone factories and being able to gene edit humans and whatever. Guys, there's a brave new world that is coming that anyone who listens to this show has at least half a clue, but I don't think that we've even seen the whole horrifying picture yet. I think there's a lot of things that are going to scare us to the point where we won't even be able to mentally digest what's coming. But of course, humans are flawed, so they're going to fix us. They're going to make us better. I started a new playlist a couple days ago. It's all about bionic body parts, mad science gone mad on Pigmine's YouTube channel, Pigmine2, pigminenews.com. So go check that out under playlist. All right, so got a few minutes left. Think we're going to get into some artificial intelligence. Of course, we've been talking about this now for a couple days. But I don't know. I think I'm going to skip some of these stories and we'll get into some of the bigger, badder because time is ticking. AI fighter pilot beats a human, but there's no need to panic just yet. While Google was building artificial intelligence that could beat a grandmaster at the ancient game of Go, we talked about that. The University of Cincinnati, again in Ohio, took an alumni, took a different track. They designed an AI that could take on a fighter pilot. Dubbed Alpha, this system recently beat retired United States Air Force Colonel Gene Lee in a multiple flight simulator trial, as the researchers explain in a paper recently published in the Journal of Defense Management. The idea isn't to replace human jet fighter pilots, no, according to Nicholas Ernest at the University of Cincinnati, alum and the founder of Fizbernetics, the company that developed Alpha. This AI may ultimately act as a kind of digital assistant that provides real-time advice to pilots, or it may fly unmanned aircraft that act as wingmen for planes piloted by humans. But don't worry, because Alpha doesn't replace everything a human does. No. Now, guys, listen to this. So we got fighter pilots now that are going to be duped by artificially intelligent flying dogfights. But listen.
Raytheon's Coyote drones can be deployed from airplanes, warships, or the ground. Fired out of tubes, their wings open automatically, enabling flight.
It's designed to have a modular front end, so you can have a variety of sensors. It could be a camera, for example, an imaging camera. It could be an RF receiver. It could be any number of electronic surveillance devices, if you would. So you can assemble a variety of different ISR payloads associated with it. You can even arm this if you choose to, say, a warhead on it also.
Coyote is designed to be flown in autonomous swarms, like in this recent test flight in Arizona.
Now, they have these autonomous swarm drones, and we've talked about those. That was all developed out of MIT with the swarm technology. These are now being produced by Raytheon, and they can carry warheads and high-definition cameras. Did we or did we not postulate every single piece of that? That was news yesterday. All right, so not only do we have autonomous dogfights and autonomous swarms of drones that can carry warheads and HD cameras, but DARPA now hopes that automation can create the perfect hacker. 7 Pentagon supercomputers are getting ready to attack each other. Look out, human hackers. The Pentagon, DARPA, says that people are too slow at fixing and finding security bugs and wants to see software that can overtake the task. The agency released details today of a contest that it'll put into test at the annual DEF CON hacking conference in Vegas next month. This is where they usually have the hacker festival. 7 teams from academia and industry will pit high-powered computers provided by DARPA against one another, and each team system must run a suite of software developed by DARPA for the event. It will search software for holes and then try to fix them and bring down response time to minutes and seconds. This malicious hacker finds a new flaw in a piece of commonly used software, and it could typically exploit it for a year or more until it's fixed. And remember, that's how the NSA has been getting into our back ends for a long time, using hackers to do that, or subcontracting hacker firms such as, and I don't remember their name, the Hacking Team, I believe, to then give them exploits that they can install payloads to monitor you. Well, now they have some AI that's going to be doing that as well. It's just like that artificial immune system I was telling you about. We even talked about that when they were talking about the artificial immune system for humans, how it was very much like the antivirus DARPA was working on as well. And lo and behold, the story came out at the same time while they were talking about the artificial hacking by AI robots at DEF CON. Well, yes, artificial immune system. To fight a virus, get a virus. DARPA bets on mutant pathogens. Ding, ding, ding. So from every direction, it doesn't matter if it's electronic or biological, they're getting ready to take over. Pair brothers working in laboratories on opposite coasts of the U.S. are brewing a new approach to fighting viruses, one that's drawn the interest from the military for protection against threats of infection such as the scary Zika or Ebola. This experiment, pursued by a Harvard biologist and the University of California at San Francisco biologist, deploys a tweaked, safe version of a virus to overwhelm the form that invades and kills the cell. And we looked at this. This was those tippy-pippies tips where they go in, they're genetically modified, and they overwhelm your immune system, trying to starve out whatever ails you. Guys, this is a brand new, scary, scary new world, and this is where we're going to end it, and we're going to pick it up on Monday. All right, guys, if that does not add insult to injury, it only gets better. H.R. 591 in front of Congress, front of the House, Engineering, Biology, Research, and Development Act of 2015. This was introduced January 28, 2015, still has to be voted on. This directs the president to implement a national engineering, biology, research, and development program to advance societal well-being, national security, and economic productivity and competitiveness. And here we go, guys. Engineering, Biology, Research, and Development Act. It's all going to be about you and me in a petri dish. Make sure you stick around. It's Friday. Lots of great radio tonight, Saturday, and Sunday. All queued up and ready to go. You guys have an awesome weekend. Be careful out there. Bye.